What's going on, guys? So you are joining us in the cab of this 2023 Chevy Silverado. This is an LT package, but it's a Z71 Trail Boss. And a lot of really cool things about this truck, including the fact that it has the all-new LZO 3-liter inline-6 diesel engine that gets that incredible fuel economy I've talked to you about with the Denali that we have. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this truck performs from a fuel economy perspective, just given the fact that it is the same engine, it is the same transmission, it's even the same gear ratio, but it's in a Chevy truck that sits about 2 inches taller than the Denali that we have. This truck also has Goodyear Wrangler tires on it, which are certainly a far more aggressive tire than the tires that are on the Denali as well. So all those things play a factor in terms of fuel efficiency, fuel economy, and we're going to see just how well this truck performs. The first thing I want to talk about is the light output of these headlights. I've talked about the GMC and how they use kind of this bi-projector LED headlight on each headlight housing. So you have a total of 4 little pods. It's probably just one bulb behind both of the projectors on the GMC. This truck instead utilizes an actual single projector on each one of the headlight pods. So it's 2 LED projectors up front, and it casts pretty good output. It's probably a little bit, well, I don't want to say it's less than the GMC, but it feels, or it seems to be a little bit less uniform and bright as the GMC. You can see on this white Toyota that's passing us right now, it does project a relatively clean cutoff line, but not as clean as the GMC. So you get good light output. It's definitely better than any incandescent or halogen lights in the past, and it does throw a nice clean uniform pattern. The one thing I can definitely say though is that the fog lights don't project quite as well, only because they put kind of like a grill over them on this Trail Boss package. So they're a little blocked, honestly, but not bad. I mean, you still get really good light output off the front of this truck. And for those of you who think I'm actually going too slow, I'm actually going above the speed limit by a few miles, and all these cars are just going super fast. There's a whole line of cars behind me that are actually going the same speed I am. That said, we've just started our trip, so once we get a little further, I will report back to you on what the fuel economy of this truck looks like. And this truck also has the adaptive cruise control, so I will be able to set the cruise on it and match the speed of the vehicle in front of me, which is always a cool feature, because if those vehicles slow down, this truck will actually slow down as well and maintain the same speed as that vehicle. It also helps me with my fuel economy testing, because I want to be sure that I'm trying to emulate the same conditions that we had in the GMC whenever I did the fuel economy tests with that truck. Okay, so we're on the road right now, and we're averaging 16.7 miles per gallon on this trip so far. I have it set for 2-wheel drive, so it's not an all-wheel drive, same as the GMC, and that mileage is going to constantly creep up, because after I filled it up last night, we drove just a little bit, but it wasn't enough to really get the fuel economy average jumping up. So yeah, once we're on the road for a little while, that number is going to jump way higher. Hopefully we're going to see, approximately 28 to 30 miles per gallon like we saw in the GMC. But I'm a little doubtful, mainly because of the extra 2 inches that this truck sits up, as well as the more aggressive tires, and we're going to see how it compares. But this truck also does have a flat tonneau cover on the back. It's the OEM GM installed tonneau cover. So again, we are replicating very similar conditions in terms of the basis of the truck and how it's going to compare to the GMC that we have. Anyways, we will be back after we've been on the road for a while. Okay, so we're back. Wanted to show you real quick what the trip looks like so far from the dash. Traveled 43, almost 44 miles. Average fuel economy of this trip is 22.6 miles per gallon. average speed of 50.8, even though we're going 75, and we have been going 75 for a while. That average speed is always one of those things that's really hard to increase, even on longer trips. We haven't traveled very far though. I mean, again, 44.3 miles. Average fuel economy of the truck, 22.5. So this truck is not getting the same fuel economy as the Denali that we have. And again, it just speaks to that rolling resistance that you get with the more aggressive Goodyear Wrangler off-road tires. It speaks to the subtle height difference of this truck. Some of the wind characteristics may be slightly different as well. But right now on the highway, on the GMC Denali, I think it was going to be closer to around 27 to 28 miles per gallon, working its way up. This has subtly settled down from about 25 miles per gallon down to 22.6. So the average fuel economy in this truck on the highway definitely isn't as good as the GMC. But what I could probably tell you is that if you get a Chevy that is equivalent to like the Denali, like a High Country that does not have that extra lift kit that the Trail Boss has, as well as highway tires or all-season tires, you'll probably see a dramatic difference in terms of fuel economy, because all of those things really matter. And right now we don't really have any wind. It's very, very calm outside. Trees aren't moving at all. I think it's like maybe a 2 or 3 mile an hour wind. And we're not seeing any real big difference in terms of atmospherical conditions that would be preventing this truck from getting insanely high fuel economy. So these are all things that you should be aware of whenever you're shopping for a truck, because if you are looking at getting a Chevy truck with the best possible fuel economy, it's probably still going to be a similar truck to this, just maybe in more of maybe a toned down package. A LT that doesn't have the Trail Boss, that's probably still 4-wheel drive, and just a little bit lower to the ground. Those types of changes can really impact fuel economy, as we can tell right here. Anyways, we'll be on the road for quite a while longer, and we'll be able to give you a much better overview of how this truck performed in terms of fuel economy. From a driving perspective, the truck drives great. It really does. It's very comfortable. It's a little bouncier over expansion joints and things like that than the Denali, but it's not uncomfortable at all. The suspension on this truck feels really, really good, especially considering it does have that semi-off-road package to it. And that increased height, the Goodyear Wrangler tires, are all things that you may want if you plan on driving through inclement weather, if you plan on taking the truck in any type of an off-road environment, or even if you just plan on driving through types of terrain that could require a bit more aggressiveness, more off-road prowess, because that's really what this truck is built to be able to accomplish for you. The sacrifice there is a little hit in your fuel economy, but 22.7 miles per gallon is not bad for a full-size pickup truck. So it's still getting really good fuel economy, just not as good as it would get if it were a, non-Trail Boss, non-aggressive tire-equipped truck. But yeah, we'll continue to be on the road, and we'll give you an update real soon. Okay, quick driving update. So we have 132.7 miles on this trip. Average fuel economy for the trip is 22.9 miles per gallon, with an average speed of 62.8 miles per hour. So that's been creeping up. Average fuel economy for the truck, 22.2 miles per gallon. Still have 463 miles in terms of range. So yeah, we're not doing too bad, but the fuel economy reading on this truck is certainly a lot lower than I expected it to be. Again, comparatively speaking to the GMC Denali that we have. Overall though, it's actually doing pretty good, because if you actually add up the fuel economy so far, we're still pushing about 600 miles worth of range on this truck. So again, depending on what it looks like once we get to Houston and how good that number maintains, or how accurate that number is in terms of remaining fuel, we'll probably have enough fuel to make it there and back without any problem at all, hopefully. But again, the fuel economy of this truck seems to be pretty dang good, especially considering the range that we have remaining and how many miles we've currently traveled. We'll be on the road for a while still. The ride's really nice. The seats, honestly, I think the seats feel more comfortable than my GMC. And these are the cloth seats. Really nice. I love the navigation system. It's been working really well, especially integrated with Google. Just a really, really nice truck. Everything has been working really nicely. Haven't had any issues. It's nice and quiet inside. Ride is smooth, and we've been enjoying it. Anyways, we'll be back here in a little while. Made a quick pit stop, pick up some stuff to drink and eat. Truck's been doing really good so far. It's a fun truck to drive. It's a cool truck to look at. Definitely gets a lot of attention from people driving by. And I think a lot of folks are shocked to see that Duramax emblem up front. Anyways, we are getting back on the road. Okay, quick update on mileage. 193 miles on the trip, 22.9 miles per gallon. Average for the trip, 64.9 miles per hour average speed, 23.6 average miles per gallon for the truck. Have a 406 mile range, traveled 193 miles. Yeah, so we're pretty close to the 600 mile mark in terms of range, and that's pretty dang good. So, gonna be very interesting to see what it ends up as once we arrive. Okay, so it's actually the next morning. Totally forgot to check the mileage on the truck and the fuel economy after arriving here. 237.5 miles traveled, 22.6 is the average fuel economy for this trip, 53.3 miles per hour as an average speed. Yeah, the miles per gallon, they're a lot lower than the Denali. Again, it's probably all due to the ride height of this truck being 2 inches taller and the more aggressive tires. That said though, you know, you still get about 600 miles to a tank, which is pretty insane on a highway trip for a truck like this. So regardless of the slightly lower fuel economy numbers, the truck still has a fantastic range, especially for being a lifted off-road based truck that has aggressive tires on it. So very cool. But we're gonna head back. I don't anticipate the fuel economy is probably gonna get any better. If there's some dramatic change in it, I'll let you guys know. But 237.5 miles is certainly enough to see what type of highway fuel economy you're going to get. Overall, I'm actually pretty impressed, just because, again, I've traveled a pretty long distance and I can make it all the way back without needing to refill. And there's a lot to be said about that in a truck like this. Now, cars, you know, economy vehicles, I know they do it all the time. That's not too difficult for most modern cars. But for a four-wheel drive crew cab lifted pickup truck, this is pretty dang impressive. Anyways, guys, I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching the channel. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.